Hello class. Today we're going to discuss creating a work breakdown structure, or WBS. This presentation should be used along with the discussion board question, brainstorming the WBS tasks, the case study to complete your homework assignment, creating a WBS, along with the RASI, and I've introduced a new component into the case study this week. The Oceanside Community Center is building a ship simulator training lab, and we're going to use their project as an example on how to create a WBS. So let's get started. The PMBOK defines creating a WBS as the process of subdividing project deliverables and project work into smaller, more manageable components. This slide is based on some suggestions presented in the PMBOK and some of my own experience in creating a WBS. The first step is to verify the scope of work. Second step is to determine the upper level structure of the WBS. In other words, how are we going to organize the tasks of the WBS? The PMBOK gives three suggestions: by project phase, by major work items, by sub-projects. The third step is to decompose the upper level tasks into lower level tasks. And once we go through the exercise, we'll be able to define these steps a little bit better. The fourth step, assign identification codes to each task. And the last step, verify all the tasks equal 100% of the work. So we start by verifying the work, and we end by verifying the work. So let's talk about each step. The first step, verify scope of work. In our case study, the Orphan Relocation Project is an internal project, and you must determine the scope of work through the planning process. The case study also refers to an external project, Oceanside Community Center Ship Simulator Training Lab. This project was awarded to the company ShipSim through a bid process. The specification for the project was developed by the owner and a consultant they hired. To create a WBS for the OCC lab project, we begin by examining the specifications. These specifications are attached on Blackboard to the case study. First, look at the table of contents. The specifications are divided into 4 divisions, each containing multiple sections. Each of these sections may contain deliverables which could potentially add to the scope of the project. However, performing an exhaustive scope verification is beyond the scope of this exercise. This is somewhat of a complicated document. What I want you to do is briefly flip through the specification just to get a feel for the level of detail that goes into defining a project scope. If you have any questions regarding these specifications, feel free to ask. We'll be referring to these specifications throughout the course. The second step in creating a WBS is to determine the upper level structure of the WBS. How are we going to organize the tasks? Again, as the PMBOK suggests, project phase, major work items, or by sub-projects. If we look at our specification, section 01100, which is page 46 of the PDF document, you will find the summary of the OCC project scope. The summary states the work consists of providing and installing computer furniture, computers and printers, audiovisual equipment, ship simulator console and software, and training. This specification section summarizes the project's major work items. For smaller projects, I prefer to use major work items to create my upper level or level 1 tasks. I would begin my WBS by entering the following items in the task column on my RASI. Now, keep in mind, typically I would enter these tasks into Microsoft Project. However, for our exercise this week, I want to scale back and focus on creating a WBS rather than. The third step is to decompose the upper level tasks into lower level tasks. I will demonstrate by breaking down the simulator tasks. As you can see, I added 4 level 2 tasks: order console, order software, test console and software, and simulator training. The reason I broke order console and order software down into 2 categories because I'm ordering these products from 2 different vendors. So I'm using 2 different resources. And often when we break down work, we break it down into packages that are assigned to specific resources. So if you have a task that is going to be completed by two different resources, it's probably a good idea to break it down into two tasks, which is why underneath order console, I have install console. Once I receive the console, I will have another resource install it, and the same with install software. Another resource will install software. And again, we finish up this task by testing the console and software, and another task of simulator training. Now I'd like you to think of some tasks, lower level tasks, or level 2 and 3 tasks that can be added to our WBS. So what are some lower level tasks for the furniture, the computer, the AV equipment? You could find these tasks in your specification. Look in sections 12,500, 17,500, 17,550, and 17,700. And you will see in the specification different deliverables or requirements. And again, if you look at the simulator specification, you will see where testing and training are elements of that specification. So let's go through and give us your suggestions. For the Blackboard exercise, you are only required to come up with one task. This is a brainstorming session designed not to be a discussion, but to be more like a boardroom brainstorming session where ideas are thrown out. The fourth step in creating a WBS is to assign identification code tasks. Now, various methods are used. Sometimes, for accounting purposes, codes are entered in for the task number. We are going to keep it simple and use the following format: 1, 1.1, 1.2, 2, 2.1, 2.2, lower level tasks, 4.1.1, etc. The last step in creating a WBS is to verify all tasks equal 100% of the work. I'm going to take a few minutes now just to briefly go through the specification.